This video is going to cover the topic of dividing fractions. Be sure to put the date at the top and the topic. The essential question for the video will be, how do we divide a whole number by a fraction? Before we start talking about fractions specifically, let's be sure we have the vocabulary for division. When we divide, we have three parts of our equation that we are talking about. Let's take this example. Our number sentence 12 divided by 4 equals 3. We take the number 12, right, and we're cutting it into 4 parts. We're trying to see how many 4s are in 12. In this situation, 12 is what we call the dividend. The dividend is the number we are dividing or breaking up. The 4 is what we call the divisor, the number we are dividing by. I remember that because the doctor does the doctoring, the divisor does the dividing. Right? And the third part here is our 3. The 3 is our quotient or our answer. Right? We know that there are 3 groups of 4 that fit into the number 12. Let's apply this to fractions now. What if we want to see how many 3/4 are in the number 6? Our number sentence for this would be 6 divided by 3/4 equals. And we're going to figure out what that would be. To find my answer this first time, I'm going to use a model. I know I'm starting with 6, so I'm going to draw 6 holes. Our goal is to find out how many 3/4 there are in these 6 holes. I'm going to start by breaking my holes into these fourths, right? Because I know I'm trying to figure out groups of fourths. Now I'm going to shade in groups of 3/4 at a time because I'm looking to see how many groupings of 3/4 there are in my 6 holes. You can see here that I have shaded in 3/4. I'm going to do the same thing here. 3/4, 3/4, 3/4, and so on. However, I'm not quite done, right? I know that so far I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups of 3/4, but I have some fourths left over. I have 1, 2, 3 more. This is another group. And I have 1, 2, 3 more. That's another group. Altogether, I had my original 6 groups of 3/4 plus these 2 more. Altogether, there were 8 3/4. I'm going to fill in the rest of my number sentence here. The quotient was 8. 6 divided by 3/4 is equal to 8. Let's do another. This time, let's see how many halves there are in 10. I have the story problem that a recipe calls for a 1/2 cup of sugar. I have 10 cups. How many batches can I make? Right? So I want to figure out if I have 10 holes, how many groups of 1/2 I have. So I can figure out my quotient. I can figure out how many times 1/2 goes into 10, and I can see how many times I can make my recipe. Again, I'm starting with my model, and I have my 10 holes that represent my 10 whole cups, and I need 1/2 at a time. So I'm going to break these into halves. This time, my divisor is just 1/2, right? So I don't need to group anything together. I just need to see how many halves there are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. I can make 20 batches because my quotient was 20. There are 20 groups, 20 halves in my 10 holes. We're going to do one more, and this time we're going to have to do a little work at the end to get our complete answer. This time my problem reads that I have 9 feet of yarn and I'm going to make bracelets. Each bracelet requires 2/3 of a foot or 2/3 feet of yarn. how many bracelets can I make? So again, I have 9 holes. I'm trying to divide it into groups of 2/3 and figure out how many times 2/3 goes into 9, right? So I have my dividend, my divisor, and I'm working to find my quotient. Let me draw this out. I have my 9 holes representing my 9 feet of yarn. I need to break this into thirds because I'm looking for groups of 2/3. So I'm going to start by just breaking this up into thirds. I'm looking for groups of 2/3, so I'm going to mark off 2/3 at a time and see how many groups of 2/3 there are in my 9 whole feet. Right? These first ones are pretty easy. I have 9 2/3 right away. Then I have these two that I compare together for another group. These two I compare together for another group. These two compared together, and these two compared together. So right now I have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 groups that fit perfectly into my 9 holes. And then I have this guy left over. Right? This is an extra third, but I have to be careful here. Remember, I wanted groups of 2/3. Well, 1/3 is half of the 2/3 I wanted, right? I wanted 2/3, I only have 1, I have half of a group. So I really was able to make 13 whole groups, and then I had half of the next group available. Now that's a little tricky. It's something we're going to practice in class, but I just wanted to show that to you so you can see what happens if it doesn't fit perfectly. Okay, so leaving you with your turn, we have a question here about 3 miles being split into thirds to figure out how many people we need on our relay team. So go ahead and draw your boxes, do your visual, and then provide your quotient, the answer to the division problem. And remember, the essential question was, how do we divide a whole number by a fraction? And that's what we got to practice today, and of course we'll practice more together in class.